Imagine standing on the scorching sands of Badr, where a small group of Muslims, outnumbered and outmatched, stood firm against a mighty Meccan army. This is the story of the Battle of Badr, an epic moment of faith, courage, and divine support that changed the course of history forever. The Battle of Badr, fought in 624 CE, is a tale deeply rooted in the history of Islam and stands as one of its most defining moments. This story brings us to the early days of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula, where the new Muslim community in Medina found itself threatened by the powerful and hostile Quraysh tribe of Mecca. The call to battle. It was the second year after the Prophet Muhammad and his followers had migrated from Mecca to Medina. Driven by relentless persecution, they had left behind their homes, families, and wealth. In Medina, they hoped to establish a peaceful society where they could practice their faith freely. But the Quraysh, determined to crush the growing influence of Islam, continued to threaten them, seeing the Muslims' existence as a direct affront to their power and way of life. In this charged atmosphere, news reached Medina that a wealthy Qurayshi caravan, led by Abu Sufyan, was en route from Syria to Mecca. The caravan was heavily laden with wealth and resources that had once belonged to the Muslims who had been forced to leave their homes and possessions in Mecca. Seizing an opportunity to weaken the Quraysh economically, the Muslims, under the guidance of the Prophet Muhammad, set out to intercept the caravan. Their aim was to recover what was rightfully theirs and to show that they would not allow the Quraysh to continue their oppression unchecked. Preparation for battle. The Prophet Muhammad set out with a small army of around 313 men, including young men, older companions, and even boys. They were lightly armed, with only 2 horses and 70 camels shared among them. They had few swords and no armor, as they hadn't anticipated a major confrontation. Their intention was not an all-out war but rather a smaller skirmish against the caravan. However, upon learning of the Muslims' approach, Abu Sufyan sent word to the Quraysh in Mecca, who swiftly raised a well-equipped army of 1,000 men, including skilled warriors and many of the tribe's most prominent leaders. As they neared the wells of Badr, a strategic location on the road to Mecca, the Muslims learned of the Qurayshi army's strength and approach. Although they were vastly outnumbered, they placed their trust in Allah and prepared for what seemed to be an inevitable confrontation. The night before the battle, the Prophet Muhammad spent hours in prayer, seeking guidance and strength. He reminded his followers that their faith was stronger than the numbers or weapons of the Quraysh. The battle unfolds. On the morning of 17th Ramadan, the 2 armies met on the field of Badr. The Quraysh, confident in their numerical advantage, lined up with their finest warriors. Before the main battle began, several duels took place. Among these, 3 of the Prophet's relatives, Ali, Hamza, and Ubaidah, stood against the Quraysh champions and emerged victorious. This initial success raised the spirits of the Muslims, who took it as a sign of divine support. As the main clash began, the Muslims, although outnumbered, fought with remarkable courage and unity. The Quraysh soldiers, despite their strength and resources, found themselves struggling against the Muslims' determination. According to Islamic tradition, angels were sent to aid the Muslims, providing them with renewed energy and fearlessness. The Quraysh began to lose ground, and their lines broke as they struggled to maintain control over the chaotic battlefield. The Qurayshi leaders, including some of Islam's most determined enemies, fell one after another. Among those who perished was Abu Jahl, a staunch opponent of the Prophet Muhammad. The aftermath. By the end of the battle, the Quraysh were forced into retreat, leaving behind many of their dead, while the Muslims emerged victorious. The Muslims lost only 14 men, while the Quraysh suffered 70 casualties and many captives. For the Muslims, this victory was a pivotal moment, bringing a renewed sense of hope and legitimacy to their cause. It showed them that, with faith and unity, they could overcome even the most powerful adversaries. The Battle of Badr did not end the hostilities between Mecca and Medina, but it marked the first major victory for the Muslims, solidifying their position in Arabia. It demonstrated to friend and foe alike that the nascent Muslim community was no longer a persecuted group but a force to be reckoned with. This battle's legacy lives on, a reminder of resilience, faith, and the strength that comes when a community stands together for justice and the right to live by its principles. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share.